Imagine when you share your darkest hours, they become someone else's light. I'm Jennifer Lee, a global community storyteller, host, author, and survivor, guiding you through genuine, unfiltered conversations. Together, we break the silence, shatter stigma, and amplify voices that need to be heard. Each episode stands as a testament to survival, healing, and reclaiming your power. Listen to I Need Blue on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or your favorite platform. Learn more at www.ineedblue.net. Trigger warning: I Need Blue shares real-life stories of trauma, violence, and abuse meant to empower and support. Please take care of yourself and ask for help if needed. Now let's begin today's story. I have a story, the man with kind, warm eyes said to me. It was a Monday morning. We had both shown up to a local networking group, united by a shared desire to support our community. We exchanged cards, a few words, and a promise to follow up. I had no idea then how deeply his story would move me. When we spoke on the phone for the first time, I heard in his voice the same warmth I'd seen in his eyes. His laughter was easy and open, his words sincere, and when he began to share his journey, I could almost see his smile on the other end of the line. July 22nd, 1995. That's the day his life changed forever. His sober date. From that day on, no drugs, no alcohol, not even a cigarette. Just an unshakable commitment to a promise he made to God in the most unlikely of places, a jail cell. It was there in that dark and broken place that John cried out for help. In return, he offered a vow of surrender, obedience, and a heart devoted to service. And God answered. John's story isn't just about recovery, it's about redemption, purpose, and the power of a life transformed. Today, nearly 3 decades later, John is the executive director of Feed the Lambs, a nonprofit that's been changing lives just like his, one child at a time. Back then, he knew he wanted to help children, but it was a mentor, a boss, a teacher, and a friend, Mr. Lundy, who gave him one piece of wisdom that stuck. John, you need to establish yourself in Vero Beach. So he did, but never alone. John will be the first to say this mission isn't his alone. He shares the credit with many. Volunteers, supporters, Mr. Lundy, and above all, his wife, Kenya, the program director and his partner in both life and service. Feed the Lambs Enrichment program is a beacon of hope in Vero Beach. Built on core values like integrity, compassion, kindness, and generosity, they provide recreation, education, and mentorship to underserved children, all at no cost to their families. From summer camps to tutoring, mentoring to community building, they live by the 3 R's: respect, responsibility, rules. This isn't just a program. It's a movement, a second chance, a safe place, a future. And it started with one man's promise and the courage to keep it. John, thank you for being my guest today, and welcome to the I Need Blue podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, there is a saying of yours that I love. I wrote it down. It says, our past doesn't determine our future. What you have to say is going to be very impactful, and I'm just truly grateful that you're here.
Yes, thank you.
Can we talk a little bit about your past? Because it definitely brought you to where you are today.
Yes, we can. I can go back all the way back to 1987 when I got involved with crack cocaine. I had used other drugs like marijuana, as a teenager, as they do, basically trying to fit in. It's not something I really wanted to do, but it was something I did to fit in with the neighborhood crew or just to fit in with people. But in 87, I got on this drug, started out selling it before 87. They say you never try your own supply, is what they used to say back then. And I was curious about, I'm smoking weed, but I'm curious about why people buying this cocaine. And so I tried it and I didn't feel anything, and I tried it again and I tried it again. And sooner I got hooked to it. So for 9 years, from 87, for that many years, I was on crack cocaine 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I was on this constantly. And that wasn't a good life to live because I was pretty much homeless because I was staying in an abandoned house, living in an abandoned house in Jersey. We fixed them up and made them livable, and we lived in these abandoned houses, me and my couple friends. And this is what we did every day, hustle to get a hit. That's just the life it was. And I didn't never think I would get out of that life. Getting high, looking bad, no, get a job, lose it after the first paycheck because I would get high all night long, couldn't make it to work the next day. And so, I left New Jersey a week after my birthday in 95. My birthday was April 28th. I think I got here in Florida on May 5th because my mom lived down here. So I was pretty much running from it. And I caught the bus down here and I called her up and told her I was here and, got able to stay with them for a little while. So I got a job and was stealing on the job to supply the habit and pay my rent at the same time so that my mom wouldn't know that I was getting high. I had a little room and I paid, I think it was $50 a week, but the other money I was getting high on it. And so I got caught on my job stealing. And the 22nd of July, I got locked up for stealing. And so when I got locked up, it wasn't long while I was sitting in there because I was in there for 2 months. I'm sitting in there and I'm saying, I don't want to do this no more. I'm sick and tired of this. Lord, this is not a place. I don't belong here. I don't want to be here. I had got caught stealing $650 worth of cigarettes that I was selling to supply my high. And I can remember, after being in there for a couple of weeks and I'm saying, Lord, I got hurt in the jailhouse playing basketball. And so I was pretty much in sick bay. So that gives me a lot of time to think. And I'm like, Lord, I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to get high no more. I don't want to drink. I don't want to do nothing no more. I said, Lord, if you could just take this desire, this taste and this desire that I don't want this no more. I said, I'll serve you till I die. And, I was in jail, so you can make all the promises and all the wishes you want while you're in there, but the test is when you get out. And so I got the Bible and I started reading. A gentleman there was doing a little Bible study, and I started reading the Bible. And I asked the guard, I said, can I go to church? And so he said he didn't know at the time, but he went to find out, and he came back and he told me I could go to church. So I said, well, I'll be ready to go on Sunday. So they come and got me. I was in a wheelchair. I had broke my heel bone. So they wheeled me to the service, and I can remember the message that was preached that day. The preacher was talking about getting over the hedge. And he would say, every time you run to get over the hedge, someone comes in and keeps you from going over. And it was the truth. He was talking about me. And I'm sitting there and he says, and you keep running and you keep running. But the only thing is, you're going to have to jump over that hedge. So he says, anybody here today that want to receive the Lord in their life? And I raised my hand and I was ready. I said, yes, I'm ready to receive the Lord in my life. And that immediate feeling was, I went over the hedge and nobody intervened in me getting there. And from that point on, when I got out, there was, like I say, was the test. And I said, when I get out, who's waiting for me? The devil himself sitting there talking about, you're out now, so why don't you go and talk to some of these people and get you some free drugs and tell them you'll owe them and get you a nice hit. And I said to myself, I said, the devil is a liar. I didn't do that. I ended up staying in a room again for a little while. My mom was out of town, but when she came back, I said, Mom, I'm going to church with you. And she was happy. And I said, I got saved, Mom. I said, just so you know, I was doing drugs and I don't want to do them no more. I'm not going to do them no more. I said, I asked the Lord to show me a good life before I leave here.
Did your mom know you were in jail?
Yeah, she knew I was in there. And, they always told us, if you go to jail, we ain't coming there to get you out. And so I was in there, but she looked out for me while I was in there. When I say that, uh, I wanted to get out, you get a reduced bond, and got my bond reduced, right? And my mom went and got my check, and somebody stole it. I don't want to say who, but stole my money, so I couldn't get out. So I go, oh Lord, I guess it ain't meant for me to get out. So I ended up staying there 2 months, and when I got out and I went, talked to her, and she gave me a hug, and I begged my pardon with her because there were some things that I took from her that, stole that to get drugs. And I say, Mom, such thing I took. I just want to let you know I took it and I'm sorry. She said, I know you took it. And she forgave me. And I remember that day she hugged me. We were sitting there talking and she said, I told her I was going to get a job and, do the right thing. And I remember that night she was getting ready to go to bed. She said, come here. I said, yes, Mom. And she grabbed me, she hugged me, and she said, I love you. And she said, keep on doing what you're doing. The Lord's going to bless you. That was her words to me. And that felt so good for her to hug me and tell me she loved me and say, the Lord's going to keep doing what you're doing for the Lord, because she saw that I was making a change in my life. I was 35 years old.
Before you ended up in a jail cell, what was your relationship with God? What did that look like?
I didn't have a relationship with him, but I always remember what my mom was trying to get me with the Lord. That's one thing. My mom prayed and she would introduce Jesus to me. But I tell you this, when you're on drugs and your mind is elsewhere, you don't have time for Jesus. She said, go to church. I say, okay, Mom, I'm going, and I don't go, or I go and I'm just sitting there because my mind is set on what I'm going to do when I get out. But my mom prayed, and one thing God did, he answered her prayer. The preacher prophesied to my mom that I was coming back to her. 9 years went by, and my mom went back and she said to the preacher, she said, you told me that my son was coming back, but he hasn't come back yet. But one thing I can tell you is that when God say he going to do something, he going to do it. And the preacher said, I didn't tell you when he was coming back. I was telling you that he was coming back. And my mom was so happy when I came back. I came back. I say I took care of her, but her husband's really took care of her that passed away. I oversee my mom and took care of her for almost 18, 19 years. We lived together. And I would tell her, don't worry about me and my brothers. I say, we grown now. I want you to enjoy your life, because a mother would do all she can for her children. She stood her ground because of the teaching she got back then. It's not like now. They give in too much now. They meant what they said and said what they meant. And she didn't support our habit, but she didn't see us go hungry or unbathed or unclothed. And she would give us a couple of dollars. She didn't know that we could get something with a couple of dollars, but what got me in Florida is that my mom left. She got married, And she left. And before she left, she told me why she was leaving. She said, I'm here with my sons and they're not doing nothing with their life. So I'm going to move with my husband to Florida. And I remember telling her, one day I'm going to be there. And she left in 88 and I end up down here 7 years later. Well, anyway, my sentence was I had a suspended 5 year sentence. I had to do 160 hours of community service and I had to pay back retribution money. So the money, I had to get a job or else I was going to be locked back up again. I didn't know if I would get a job because when I was in jail, I said, Lord, I say, who in the world going to hire me? I'm a thief. Who going to hire me? And the word says I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so I put my faith. I said, Lord, I want to get a job because I don't want my mom and her husband taking care of me. I want to take care of myself. So I got a job at the movies and I went in and just so happened the guy that was the boss at the time was a Christian man. And went in, filled out the application. I got the job. So I go to my probation officer. I'm happy because now I can pay my money every month and don't get locked up and do my 2 years probation. So I go to her, I say, I got a job. I said, now I can pay my money. She said, did you tell the your boss that you were on probation? I said, no, why would I do that? She says, well, here in Florida, you have to tell them that you're on probation. Now I'm getting down spirit because I've been there for a little while. They didn't give me a key and everything, and I'm, taking care of their movies. I said, oh, well, I guess I done lost that job. So I left depressed, a little depressed. I go home and my mom always knows something wrong with you. She said, what's the matter? I said, Mom, I went to probation today and I told her I had a job and I'd be able to pay the money. And she said to me, did I tell the boss I was on probation? And my mom at the time said the same thing I did because we from New Jersey. She said, why would you do that? I said, well, they said that's a law. You have to tell. I said, so I guess I'm not going to have that job long. They didn't gave me a key and trusted me and everything. Now I got to tell them I'm on probation. All afternoon, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to tell this man I'm on probation and keep my job. So the lady picks me up and she drives me to the job. And on the way there, she says, John, what's wrong? You ain't saying nothing. I said, I'm all right. I'm just thinking about something. I didn't tell her what it was. So she drops me off and she says, I'll be back to get you in the morning. I said, okay, see you in the morning. So I go to walk to the door, right? And I go to put the key in the door. And the Spirit says to me, O ye little of faith. And I know that's the Lord speaking to me, saying, if you got faith in me, you shouldn't be worrying about nothing. I love to tell this part. I said, okay, Lord. So I put the key back in the door, turn it, walk in. And as soon as I get in the door, who's coming towards me? The manager. So I walk in and he goes, hey, John, how you doing? I said, I'm doing all right. And before I could say I need to talk to you, he says, oh, yeah, I talked to your probation officer today. Everything's taken care of. I look up, like, you know how we look up to the sky? I look up to the sky and I said, you knew this all along, didn't you? So I was relieved that the probation officer called him and told him. So God had it all in the plan. And from that day on, I never lacked in my faith. Never. And faith has brought me where I am. I stopped working at the movie theater because they closed, and I went to Walmart working at 10 to 7. And then I would leave there and go to the soup kitchen, working at the soup kitchen.
Now, Mr. Lundy, you met at the soup kitchen, correct?
Yes. Yes, I met him. He was the one that gave me my community service hours. When I was in Jersey, I would say, I ain't working nowhere for nothing. I'm just being honest. I ain't working nowhere for nothing. And they had soup kitchen in Jersey, and I think I had to go to do some hours, and I never went. So here, I know I got to do this community service because I done got a suspended 5 year sentence, and if I don't do it, I'm gonna have to go do them 5 years. So I go in, meet Mr. Lundy. He asked me how I'm doing and everything, and so the one thing that I like about him is that he didn't ask me what I did. He didn't get in my business. He was like, when can you start? And I said, well, I can start tomorrow. He says, all right, I'll see you here tomorrow at 8 sharp. And I tell you, that man really worked me for 160 hours. And all I could say in my mind was, when I get done this, I'm leaving. I'm gone. And I didn't realize that Mr. Lundy wasn't working me hard, but he was training me. And I didn't know that. I started out working, cleaning up and washing pots and mopping floors and everything. And then all of a sudden he says, I got a job for you. And I was like, what else do you have on top of what you already got me doing? He said, I want you to run the kitchen. I said, run the kitchen? He said, yeah. You done been here long enough. You cooking and you're doing all the stuff. You'll be over the volunteers. You get the volunteers work to do. You make sure that the food is ordered and all that stuff. And I'm like, wow. And my 160 hours ain't up yet. So I go, okay. I said, I'll try it. I ain't. When I'm done, I'm out of here. I allowed the health department to come in and do some HIV testing. They asked me, could they come? I said, sure. I got permission from Mr. Lundy because he had to get permission from the church. But they said it was all right to let the health department come in and do tests, blood pressure testing and HIV testing. And then lady comes back later and she said, I see you got a good relationship with the people that come in. Where do you work? I said, I work at Walmart 10 to 6 at night. And then I come here. She said, how much are they paying you? I said, $6.35 an hour. She said, how would you like to make twice that much part-time? I said, I'll try anything. So she said, well, you come to the health department, fill out an application, and we'll talk to my boss and see if you can get a job where you can do outreaching and work with HIV prevention. I got hired. So now I put in my notice at Walmart. And I worked at the soup kitchen when I could because part-time I was there. I just had to make sure the operation was running at the kitchen, but I had my job to make the money. So that went on, and all of a sudden I became full-time career service in Indian River County. And to shorten that, I ended up working at the Department of Health for 23 years. And I retired 2 years ago. And I'm working, might as well say, more full-time with Feed the Lambs. My 160th day came, and I'm happy. When I get there, I'm leaving home, and I'm like, this is my last day. So I go there. I had a good report there. Everybody liked me, all the volunteers and everything. So two of the volunteers, husband and wife, comes up to me while I'm in there. And they said, John, we need to talk to you. I said, yeah, what's up? I said, we know today is your last day. I said, yeah, I'm glad too. And so they said to me, and I know that Mr. Lundy had something to do with it. They said to me, we sure hate to see you go. We like for you to stay on. We really enjoy your spirit and, everything you're doing. I said, let me think about it. I can't give you an answer right now. Let me think about this. I end up telling them, I said, I'll stay for a little while and help y'all out. Because in my mind, I'm saying, the spirit let me know that I could reach out to people that were where I was and I'm not there no more. I can help them, encourage them. Well, that little time ended up being 17 years I did at the soup kitchen. And I was the soup kitchen manager. I worked with Mr. Lundy hand in hand. Mr. Lundy also set me up with his radio station and turned that over to me too. It was called Facts and Feelings. And he caught me off guard one day. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm not doing nothing. I'm resting up. He said, I need you to do me a favor. And I'm like, what do you let me to do now? He said, I need you to go to the radio station and take my place. And I'm like, I ain't never do radio before. He said, well, you don't have to do it like me. Just put you some questions on the paper and meet my guests when they come. So I go there that day and I do that for that day. And I did good. I think I did that for about 6 years. And I got involved with the TV as well, the television show. I had my own 30-minute show. I would bring guests in and talk about the community. Mr. Lundy taught me how to get volunteers, how to go out and talk to people to get money to support the program. He taught me a lot of stuff, and I was thankful. And I would go by and make sure Mr. Lundy ate because Mr. Lundy would do a lot of work and wouldn't eat and take his medicine. So I would check on him before I went to work. And I met with him on a Tuesday of the week that he passed away. I think I was on my way to work and I was sitting there. I had bought both of us a dinner and I sat there to eat the dinner with him. He had just had a procedure. And he said to me, he said, John May, your name came up in my conversation in a meeting today. And he says, I just want to tell you to keep doing what you're doing. Stick with the soup kitchen and that health department. Keep doing what you're doing. Work with Feed the Lamb. And I say, well, I'm going to do the best that I can. And then I got a call that Thursday or Friday that he had passed away. He was more than a mentor. He was like a father to me. And he had children, I mean, but he, just like he added me onto the list and he treated me like a dad, and he taught me a lot of things that got me where I'm in. So God put me under his umbrella, under his care, and he did a good job.
When you started working at the food kitchen, how long after that did Feed the Lambs become established?
Started in 96. I got involved in 97. Mr. Lundy called me one morning and said, I need you to do me a favor. And, when I heard that, I knew it was something. I said, what is it? He says, I don't have a coordinator for my summer camp. And I was like, I never worked it. He said, I'll tell you what to do. So he tells me that I need to get there in the morning, fix them breakfast, get them some arts and crafts, some games and stuff to do, and then fix them lunch and have them out of there by 11:30 so that I can start the soup kitchen operation. So as busy as this man was, he made me busy too. But I went on and did it. I started with that in 97. Mr. Lundy passed in 2008. I think I worked 2 more years after that. I put in 17 years. I was 2 years the president of the soup kitchen when Mr. Lundy left. And then I wanted to, work more with the kids. I retired from the soup kitchen.
He taught you so many valuable lessons in regards to Feed the Lambs and being able to successfully run a nonprofit. What was the greatest piece of advice that Mr. Lundy gave you?
I would say that everything that I was doing, I had to do it in love. Everything he did was in love. It wasn't about a pat on the back. It wasn't about money. It was about showing love. Because he always told me with the kids, John May, make sure you feed them kids. Because he knew the type of lives they had. Sometimes a kid didn't get a good dinner at night. Sometimes a kid didn't get a good breakfast. And they would act up in school because of what? Their stomach was empty. So he always told me, John May, make sure you feed them kids physically and spiritually. And that's what I did. And that's what we're doing to this day. During that time, I increased the program from a little summer camp to full-time summer camp. And then we have tutoring 4 days a week now, 2 hours a day. But everything was only 4 hours back then. And the parents didn't know what they were going to do with their kids while they were at work. So I had to go to the board and say, hey, we need more hours on the tutoring. We need more hours on the summer camp and then the mentor program because these kids need to learn life skills. When I come up, we did learn life skills and it was lacking here. So I added the mentor in and I reached out to people that had a heart for children and we made it happen. And today, this program has grown since 1997. It has grown, and I do wish Mr. Lundy was here to see this, but I'm sure above he's looking, see the success that's going on.
He taught you so many valuable lessons in regards to Feed the Lambs and being able to successfully run a nonprofit. What was the greatest piece of advice that Mr. Lundy gave you?
I would say that everything that I was doing, I had to do it in love. Everything he did was in love. It wasn't about a pat on the back. It wasn't about money. It was about showing love. Because he always told me with the kids, John May, make sure you feed them kids. Because he knew the type of lives they had. Sometime a kid didn't get a good dinner at night. Sometime a kid didn't get a good breakfast. And they would act up in school because of what? Their stomach was empty. So he always told me, John May, make sure you feed them kids physically and spiritually. And that's what I did. And that's what we're doing to this day.
I love that. And, I'm going to go back to the moment where you talked about your mom and how she wrapped her arms around you, pouring her love into you. And that was a valuable lesson that you learned, like how love felt, how it should feel. And you took that and you gave it to other people unselfishly, like you said, so they could experience that moment that you had with your mom.
Well, my mom always taught us to love people. Even before I knew in the Bible that we supposed to love our enemies, my mom always taught us to show love to people. She always showed love. She would feed a stray dog. Just go in and get him something and give him something to eat. It was something she did for almost 50 years. And that was her ministry. She would make bags for people. She was in line one day in Jersey, and the young lady that was in front of her had food stamps. And when it got to the part where you had the soap powder and all that stuff, the cashier said, we need cash for that. And my mom took that and started buying stuff like paper towels and all this stuff, put it in a bag and just give it to people. My mom made these bags for 50 years, just gave them away. There was nobody that ever came to her house and left and didn't have a bag. She would go to church every Sunday and carry 2 bags with her. Every Saturday, I would take her to the store so she could buy this stuff. And she used her own money to buy this stuff. You would have been sitting there talking to her. She'd say, wait a minute, I got something for you. Come on back here with me. Because she'd have you fix the bag. That was her ministry. She showed us how to love people. It's just like today, I cannot do evil and be out there doing the Lord's work. I just can't. It won't go together.
Absolutely. That is so beautiful. Let's talk about now today where Feed the Lambs is.
Right now, the program is doing great. Every year, we're helping hundreds of kids. A couple of days ago, we just signed up for our after school program. Now, after school program, it operates from September to April, 2 hours a day, 4 days a week. And we are now blessed to be in another location. So we are in South County and North County. South County, we're at Oslo Middle School. And North County, we are at Coastal Church. It's Coastal Church now. When April gets here and we close down because of the testing and stuff, we prepare for the 7-week summer camp, which we just finished in both locations this summer. And we was up to 100 kids there and would combine both locations. And it went great. They eat breakfast and lunch, which was provided by the school board. Snacks which were provided by volunteers giving their snacks. And these kids did their daily recreational activities. They went on weekly field trips. They went to art class, did art. They went to Vero Beach rowing, and they got to learn how to row with the boat. A lot of stuff came on this year. Their last trip, we take them on a field trip on their last trip of the week so they can have something to talk about along with the program. Because when I was coming up, I didn't have nothing to talk about. So I'm sitting around kids and they're talking about what they did. And I actually thought, I guess we are poor and we can't do all that stuff. My daddy kept a roof over our head and paid the bills and bought us clothes and stuff, but it wasn't like other families could go on family trips. We might have went to the amusement park, once, but we didn't go nowhere. We went to KFC once a week on Fridays when he got paid. We got chicken and I don't know. I think one time we went to McDonald's, but we didn't do what they do today. It wasn't that area. Our food was always cooked at home.
So you're making memories for these children that they'll take with them forever.
Yes. Yes. So when they go to school, they don't want to be sitting there and won't have nothing to talk about. We used to take them on an amusement park last trip. But this year they went to the swimming. One was H2O, the group went, and another group went to rapid water. They went swimming, different field trips they went on. So they had a very active summer, and we do add our reading and tutoring in there to help them out when they start school. They'll be able to, do read books and do math. And
Okay, where do you get your funding to help these children?
our funding come from local grants, local people. We have a few donors. We do fundraisers to raise money and, go from there.
And let's talk about your amazing program director, your wife, Kenya.
I met her about 12 years ago. From that day that I got out to jail, I went to church from that point on. I promised the Lord that if He did what I asked Him, that I would serve Him. So I went to a church for 18 years, became an ordained minister. I ended up being called by the Lord to pastor a church. I pastor a church now, the Way of Faith Outreach Ministries. 12 years ago, I asked the Lord, because I knew I need to be married. Can't do it what I need to do alone. I told the Lord I wanted somebody that would serve Him like I am. With the life change in me, didn't make me better than nobody, but in order for me to stay away from the world and going back to what I got out of, I needed to have somebody with me that would serve Him like I am. And He did it. He gave me my wife, Kenya. She'll tell people she married into the program. She was involved in it before then, and her children were involved in it. And I thank God for the other people that worked in it that moved on, but I needed someone else to run it, and she decided that she would run it. She has became from a coordinator to the program director to the program mother. She's a mother to these children. She has a heart for children, but she puts a lot of time in with these children. The one thing that we do for these children that they need more of is that we need to listen to these children. See, when we were coming up, they dictated to us, they talked at us. But you can't talk at these children today. You have to talk to them. And she gives them time, and we both let them know that we're not going to go along with wrongdoing, but we'll give you a chance to let us know what you need to let us know, and then we'll take it from there. See, there's three sides to a story: your side, their side, and the truth. And so we let them know this. And a friend taught me something a long time ago. A child doesn't care how much you know till they know how much you care.
Powerful.
You can have all the money, you can have all the intelligence, you can have everything, but that child is not concerned about that. They're concerned about, do you really care about them?
Mm.
And that's why Feed the Lambs is going on as long as it has, because you asked me earlier what did Mr. Lundy and my mom, LOVE. And if you have Christ in your life, you got to have LOVE.
Wow, everything you just said is so powerful, from we need to listen to our kids to, like you said, show that we care about them.
If you just give me a moment, I'll let you speak to Kenya.
Oh, sure.
Hello.
Hi, Kenya. It's Jen.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good as
Yeah, we were just talking about you because you're definitely part of this story. So, number one, thank you for what you do to help our community. And John was saying that you went from kind of the program director to the mom. I love that. Tell us your favorite part. What is it you love? What is it that makes you get up in the morning and be like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to go serve?
being with Feed the Lambs. Yes, it's like it's a family, not just you and your own family. You're part of another family to help the young people to get through some obstacles, some barriers that they're having. And we do feed spiritually as well. We help them with their homework, their schoolwork, and any obstacles they're having. Once they talk, then you have them to open up to you. Because some kids, they will shut down, they'll stay in their little box. But speaking with them one on one, then you're able to have that trust with the child because a lot of kids go through some things. And then some kids, they like to play, and then you have to bring them to calm down a little bit. It's not the time to play, and you have to get them to understand, this is the time where you get your work done and then you can play after.
Yeah. Thank you. If you had a message for the parent of these children, words of encouragement, whatever they may be, what would you share from your heart?
Thank you for asking that, because it does come from the heart. Take a step back and think about, how would you want someone to treat you as a child? The love that you needed, that time you wanted someone to just listen and wrap their arms around you and say, okay, everything's going to be okay. We're going to figure a different way out. Because each child learns different. Each child has a different way of understanding. Just to take that step back and think about, am I getting through to that person, to my child? Or do I need some time to take a breather and then come back?
But you are making me tear up just listening to that advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. While I have you here, is there anything else you would like to share?
First, if you've never been loved as a parent or as a child, take that time and show much love to yourself. And then you can know how to love someone else. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, John, for that opportunity. Beautiful. She's very soft-spoken. You can tell that it all comes from her heart. And I'm thankful that God, well, you already know He had a plan for you. And it's just all about timing.
That's what the word says. Sometimes we think we got the plan, but he already had a plan. He was just waiting for us to make up our minds what we wanted to do. Because I know one thing, God didn't force on me what I'm doing. He didn't force it on me. I took it upon myself that I was ready to do better than I was doing in the world. See, sometimes people can judge the people in the world, but if you ain't never been there, you can't judge them. Because I didn't know it would take me that long to get off of drugs, and it did. And there are people out there still on it that was on it when I got on it. Some have passed away, and some are still doing it. It's just like when people get saved. They need to get saved. Yeah, I asked a question one day when I heard that. I said, how long did it take you to get saved? God waited for you. So it was going to take time. So I'm glad where I'm at. And that doesn't make me better than nobody. I still make some mistakes, but I have someone to go to and say, Lord, I'm sorry for sinning against you. Please forgive me. And if you believe the word, he says, if you come freely and confess your sins, it says that he is faithful and just to forgive your sins and cleanse you from all unrighteousness. But you got to come freely. When you come freely, that means you come on your own. He'll forgive you.
For those who are still in jail, what words of encouragement would you share with them?
The words of encouragement that I would share with them, because I do jail ministry. When I got out of jail, I said, like I did the soup kitchen, I told the guard, I said, I ain't never coming back here. I didn't say it in a bad way. I was just letting them know, when I get out of here, I am not coming back. Got the job with the health department. Where do you think I did HIV prevention? In the jail. And then by doing that in the jail, I got involved with the jail ministry. And I've been doing it now for almost 20 years. I go in and minister to the men on third Sunday. So my encouragement, as I said before, I encourage them that your past will not determine your future. When I go into jail, I don't go in there preaching about what they done, because they already know what they done. They need to know how not to do what they did so they don't come back. And when I go in, I let them know, I say, now you're coming to church and you're getting the Bible. You got to be for real. You can't use this while you're in here And when you get out, you leave the Bible and you leave everything in here. I said, you got to continue this out there. I said, because that's what I did. I was in here. And when I got out, I had to continue because I had fear in my heart that if I lied to God, I was going to be in trouble. First thing you got to do is you got to repent. God ain't going to hear nothing until we repent. Then you got to forgive. I cannot do anything with anything in my heart that ain't right. Repentance and forgiveness. A lot of people are stuck because of unforgiveness and they haven't repented to the Lord. Second Chronicles, the 7th chapter and verse 14, God says, if my people called by my name will humble themselves, pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways. Wicked ways is our sins. If we do that, he says, then, and only until then, until you do that, I will hear from heaven. I will forgive your sins and I will heal your land. A lot of time God do answer your prayers. He just don't answer them the way you want him to answer them. And he's not going to do that because his ways are not our ways and his thoughts are not our thoughts. And I don't know how crazy it looked, but he answered your prayer.
Absolutely.
My final thoughts is if you don't have Jesus in your life, try him. He's all right.
And for those wanting to learn more about Feed the Lambs, all of the information, website, all of that will be in the show notes. John, thank you so much for your time. And if your beautiful wife is still listening, Kenya, thank you so much for your time as well.
She said you're welcome, and I say you're welcome, and I hope that we did a good job for you.
It was amazing. Thank you so much for listening. This is Jen Lee with the I Need Blue podcast. To learn anything and everything about I Need Blue, check out my website, www.ineedblue.net. And remember, you are stronger than you think. Until next time.